Darkspeed and Midas were standing in a group with the other anchors. Saber walked up and said, "Good afternoon, Darkspeed. This is your anchor Midas?" "Yes, he is." "Midas, this is Saber, 8th leader," Darkspeed said. "I remember from the firing range. I like the cutting sabers, they're cool," Midas said. "Thank you. How do you like your anchor class?" Saber asked. "It could be better," Midas responded. "How so?" "It's just really hard. Well, it's really hard if Coach Smith is teaching. I do really well if Coach Inferno is teaching. I think Smith has it in for me." "I doubt that," Darkspeed said. "It's true." "Fine. What makes you think Coach Smith has it in for you?" "I think he wants first coach position. I don't think he likes being second at anything. Since I'm on first team, I get nothing but grief from him. You watch. Ion is his anchor, and Ion can do no wrong," Midas said with conviction. Coach Smith walked up to the group of anchors. "We are in the pit today, anchors. Let's get going," he said. Soon all the anchors and the 2 leaders had red harnesses on and were heading from the dugout to the pit. Smith was standing on the edge of the pit. "When I call your name, you are in the pit for one-on-one combat. The winner stays in until he is unseated by a challenger. Ion and Isotope, get into the pit." Both boys jumped into the pit and looked up at the coach for a signal to start. Coach Smith did nothing. The boys on the side of the pit started looking at him next. "First lesson of combat. Don't wait for a go from anyone. The match starts when you touch the pit," Smith shouted. Isotope put his hands up to fire his radiation powers at Ion. He was far too slow. Ion, moving as fast as lightning, threw several lightning bolts into Isotope in an instant. Isotope was tough and staggered back without being red benched. Ion just pushed this advantage. He amplified his attacks and pounded Isotope until he finally disappeared in a silvery flash. "Midas, you're up," Smith said. "Go get him," Darkspeed said. "I've been working on a move for this. We'll see if it works," Midas said. Midas took 3 steps backward and ran off the edge of the pit. While airborne, Midas turned funny and was positioned to take a belly flop on the pit floor. Midas put his hands out as if to try and stop himself from hitting face first on the ground. On impact, the ground shifted and swallowed him up. Instantly, the floor of the pit was steel and shooting thousands of long barbed spikes up into the air. The spikes shot up 200 feet at almost the speed of sound, but it wasn't fast enough to catch the living lightning that was Ion. Darkspeed observed with his super speed turned up to max. He saw Ion in slow motion. Ion, Darkspeed knew, was 1,000 norms when it came to speed. He also knew that he was 20 times faster than Ion. It was Midas who he was worried about. Midas was 200 times slower than Ion. Midas had used the underground cavern he created to protect him from Ion's lightning. But he needed to get up and see with his eyes what his creation was doing. He knew he was swinging blind in the dark. Midas made a tunnel up to the far side of the blocks on the pit wall. He opened a small hole in one of the blocks on the side and stuck his head out. Midas saw Ion easily dodging the long spikes that swayed blindly with big spikes. The spikes then violently rushed, grew, and thrashed at Ion. There were so many spikes moving at him in unpredictable patterns like tentacles. Ion knew they were driven. He started to look around for Midas. Soon, he saw the much younger boy and threw a strong lightning bolt at him. Midas had no chance of dodging the bolt and was red-benched. "Midas, get back out here!" Smith called from the edge of the pit. Midas came running back out of the dugout. "Yes, Coach?" "Clean up your mess so we can continue," Smith said, pointing at the steel briar patch that was now the pit. "Sure," Midas said. He reached down and touched the ground. The pit reformed itself in seconds, even the thousands of blocks on the sides. "Wow, he's gotten a lot better," Darkspeed thought to himself. Midas came to stand next to Darkspeed. "I especially like your falling into the ground. Did it hurt?" "No, I turn the ground into a liquid-like steel that catches me in some air. I make it slow me down nice and gentle, over maybe 50 feet. I call it my soft catch. If I could see up top, I'd do much better," Midas said. "Saber, you're in the pit," Smith called. Saber didn't wait for a second invitation. He flew off the edge of the pit at Ion, firing cutting blades of energy at him like a blur. It looked impressive to those looking on, but the lightning boy was too fast. He dodged the barrage and quickly red-benched Saber. Chain and Quake were then quickly red-benched by Ion. Frost tried to make an ice tomb for herself and expand the ice to fill the pit. Ion's lightning exploded the ice and exposed her to his power. She was red-benched quickly. Newton increased gravity so much Ion was drawn to the ground, but the Libyan boy didn't have enough power to finish him. Ion charged the ground, still wet with ice. until Newton was red benched. The red-haired girl from Mexico was up next. Flare panned the pit with intense flames from one side to the other. She caught Ion in her flames at least once, but in his mostly lightning form, it didn't seem to bother him much. She was then red benched. Darkspeed, you're up. This time you have to fight him without Ranger, Smith said. You're right. This guy does have it in for first team, Darkspeed said to Midas. Like I said, Midas answered. Let me go teach this guy a lesson, Darkspeed said as he stepped up to the edge of the pit. Ion was hovering in the center of the pit, focused on Darkspeed. He was waiting for him to step inside so he could open up with a barrage of lightning. Darkspeed stood at the edge of the pit and paused, staring at Ion. He didn't need to pause. He did it because it seemed to unnerve Ion. Midas watched, his mind racing at what the outcome would be. Darkspeed can lift 70 tons, hitter durability, 20,000 norms of speed, heals in seconds, and when he fights, only he can see. But, can he fight lightning? Midas thought to himself. We don't have all day, Smith said. Darkspeed waited a few seconds more, then blinked into the pit. The pit was pitch black by the time the eyes watching looked down. Lightning could be heard cracking inside, then loud cracks like sonic booms. Loud, hard strikes like amplified Chinese firecrackers filled the air. Then the pit was calm. The darkness disappeared and the pit could be seen. Darkspeed was holding a steel cube from the side wall in both hands. His grays were singed, but he looked unhurt. The pit was a mess. Hundreds of cubes were scattered all over the pit. Ion came staggering out of the dugout. His head was bleeding and he looked terrible. Smith rushed to his side. Are you all right? What happened? Smith asked. I felt like a fly in a hailstorm. Can we get a healer? Ion said in his Australian accent. Smith touched his earpiece and quickly said, Healer to the pit. Port teleported and appeared next to the dugout. Who needs the healer? He said. Here, Smith called out while holding Ion up. Port quickly approached Ion. He reached out and touched the beat-up boy on his shoulder. Ion's cuts and scrapes quickly disappeared. Ion then stood up, looking fresh. Coach, does Ion want a rematch, or should I just brutalize someone else? Darkspeed said from the edge of the pit with sarcasm. Don't get smart, Smith said to Darkspeed. Ion, are you good? I'm ready to fight again, Ion said. Smith broke them into 2 teams and had them go at it again. For the rest of class, Coach Smith had them fight each other. Again and again, the class was all about combat. Walking back from class, Darkspeed said to Midas, This seems more like a class for Olympian than you. No offense. None taken. When Smith isn't in charge, the class is about other stuff. But when he's there, it's fight, fight, fight. Was I right about him or what? Midas answered. He's going to use that class as a way of getting Ion as much fight time as possible. He's not working with the other anchors as much, is he? No, but it was cool to see you get Ion. Was it hard to bench him? No, he was like a sitting duck in the dark. I just wanted to really rough him up first, more as a lesson for Smith than Ion. You should come to my class more often, Midas said. Hey, don't think you haven't learned something there. That moving metal thing you turned the pit into was hardcore. If Ion wasn't such a fast flyer, that would have done some real damage. Thanks. I hope I can do something that cool when we have our team matches. Yeah, me too, Darkspeed said.